What is going on, all my fellow gamers? Isaac Holmes here, playing some more Medieval 2 Total War, and this time it is on the hub, and this battle you guys have seen if you've already been on my channel, but this time I decided to go ahead and redo this battle because this is perhaps my favorite battle of all time, and I will explain why in just a second. But Medieval 2 Total War, this game does not get enough love, and I have to say this is one of my favorite Total War games. This is my very first Total War game I ever owned, and a lot of people hate on it just because the medieval time period is kind of confusing and not the most interesting, but I have to say this game is still really fun, and we have some updating news on the hub about Medieval 2 that we will talk about in a special update video. But let's go ahead and look at what's going on my battlefield. So I have my general's bodyguard, which always has my general, and there he is right there. I love the armor look to him, as well as 3 units of mailed knights. I have 4 units of peasant archers and 5 units of armored sergeants. Well, if you know anything about Medieval 2, you would realize that these guys, any type of spearmen, even armored sergeants who are the best spearmen, suck terribly. That's because this is an incredibly low money battle, and the only rules were no artillery. But I decided to use this composition, and I will explain why in a little bit. But let's go ahead and look at my opponent. I'm playing as England, by the way, and my opponent is France. He has 2 units peasant archers, 5 units of these feudal knights, very, very scary cavalry, heavy cavalry, very expensive as well. He also has 4 units of sergeant spearmen, which are cheaper spearmen, plus 2 units of dismounted feudal knights, and finally 2 units of catapults. So yes, my opponent did break the rules, but you know, that's okay. Accidents happen, and I'm forgiving with that. But you will see very shortly why I did not want artillery here. But the thing about my army is the reason I had spearmen is, 1, I knew I could take on any type of cavalry, and 2, I thought it looked awesome. It was kind of historically accurate. You know, this is early low money battles, and this is something England would field, a lot of sergeants. But as you can see, I have somewhat of an advantage because he has a huge amount of feudal knights going up against my spearmen. But we are gonna go at a pause, and seeing that he has catapults, there's one thing that you should always do no matter what the game is: move forward. And yeah, the closer you get to the catapults, the less damage they're gonna do. So I'm going to start moving my guys forward right here, and we're going to watch some of these catapult shots come in. Now it's key to remember in Medieval 2 Total War that most artillery, sucks terribly. Especially the cannons, I found that they are just terrible. Absolutely terrible. If you've seen any of my other videos on my channel, you'll see how devastating they are, except for catapults, and that's why. They went from 40 units down to 27. Yeah, I wasn't too happy about that. I'm sure you can imagine, seeing how that's against the rules. But you can see that they do miss, especially see how close I'm getting now. So I'm going to rush my archers up. Oh, and another hit. Look at that. He still gets 1 more cavalry, so they're down to 26 guys out of 40, which is pretty saddening. Now I'm moving my archers up. I didn't think, you know, his peasant archers compared to mine would be that big of a deal, but he does an interesting move here. He decides to move forward all of his cavalry against my armored sergeants, and I'm willing to take that. So I move my armored sergeants in, and just look how devastating this is. You know, we already took care of quite a few here, and here I'm kind of encircling him with all of it, and as well as using my archers to shoot into him. And here I'm drawing up more, and I guess these guys were just in a bad placement, but they go ahead and rout. But he decides to go ahead and charge again, thinking, I guess, you know, it's few enough, he sees that route, so he figures he can take my guys out. And if he had, you know, he would have won the battle right then and there. But we're going to see how devastating these guys are. All this archer fire and all these armored sergeants are quite devastating. And it's crucial to remember that spearmen get a very nice bonus against horses. And right there, his general just went down, and all of a sudden these horses are not going to have a very good day at all. Ooh. Mouse spasm out just a little bit there, but boom, look at all the routes. They're going to go ahead and withdraw from the battlefield. He still has some artillery coming in and his archers, but we're going to stop and we're going to look at this. Because, oops, that's a tree. We're going to stop and look at my situation right here, kind of explain my thinking on why I did this. And the video is going to go into two parts here. Cavalry is off the field, okay? However, that cost me quite a few members of my armored sergeants, but my archers are still alive, my horses are all still alive, my mailed knights. I brought them in just to kind of finish these guys off, but I'm going to withdraw them. And now I have to decide. Now, I know that I can't charge my mailed knights against Sergeant Spearmen. Even though they aren't as good as my armored sergeants, they will still absolutely tear through my mailed knights. At the same time, I know I can't use my armored sergeants to go against his dismounted feudal knights, because that's just how the game is. Swords always beat spear. So sure, I could flood him with a whole bunch of guys here and do some hammer and anvil and possibly break these two units, but at the same time I have to worry about these Sergeant Spearmen all over here, plus this catapult. So I decided to go ahead and split my guys up and engage my armored sergeants, or against his Sergeant Spearmen. And we're gonna go ahead and split up the battle as we unpause. Alright, so you see how I'm moving my guys over here? My mailed knights, I should say. My guy's very vague. But I'm going to go ahead and start charging into his dismounted feudal knights with quite a bit of archer support. See, I still have all 4 units of my archers. Most of them, well, they're not very injured. But here comes the charge. We're going to see how devastating this is. That was a pretty nice charge. Especially if you play Medieval 2, you know charges can end quite badly. And I'm just going to leave these guys in here for just a little bit, do a little bit of a melee fight. And I don't want to leave them in here too long, because that could damage them quite a bit and have me take unnecessary casualties, which is definitely something I do not want to do. But eventually I'm going to go ahead and withdraw them. That guy just caught on fire for some odd reason. I guess his archers decided to go ahead and attack my guys, even though I'm focusing 3 archers onto this poor peasant unit right here. See, I'm withdrawing. This unit's still alive with 4 guys. This unit over here, down to 53 from archer fire. And here comes the rest of my cavalry. A little bit of a cycle charge, and those guys completely ruined. Here we have a barbecued horse.
Only half the enemy force remains.
That guy is barbecued as well. But yeah, this unit's completely screwed. So here we are back in the same position as earlier, but this time we're going to focus on what I was planning to do against his Sergeant Spearmen. Now, like I said, my horses can't go up against his guys, so that means I have to distract his Sergeant Spearmen somehow, and I'm going to have to use my depleted armor sergeants just for that. Now, my guys are much superior in the ways that, as you can tell, they have these armor, chainmail looking. That shows that I have armor defense, as well as an attack defense on these guys. No experience, because he would show a flag for experience only, but that is something I really love about Medieval 2. Upgrades like that you can see in the way of cosmetics. And real quick, I'm just going to showcase this, why catapults aren't the greatest and not the smartest. And just a second, they will fire. But you can see, my guys are just tearing right through his Sergeant Spearmen, and there's not much he can do, and boom, he just killed his own catapult. So be wary of where you place your artillery. They hit it again right there. I don't know if that caused any damage to these spearmen right here, but yeah, that was not the best idea for those catapult men to be doing. But look all across this line, I'm destroying these guys. They're down to 27 compared to my guys. Amazing how well they're doing. And here he does something bad. If he wanted to, he could outflank my guys and possibly create a rout right here, or at least cause a lot more casualties and cause these guys to waver, but instead they are a little bit shaken. Some of them are steady. Yeah, some of these guys over here are steady, and they're doing their job just fine. I mean, I was just hoping to hold these guys long enough for my horses on my right flank to take care of his feudal knights, but instead they do a lot better. They're absolutely destroying these Sergeant Spearmen. So that's what upgrades can do for you. And we're just going to watch these guys get massacred just a little bit longer. Well, here you can see my cavalry forces are pushing through his guys. These guys are down to 28 men in this dismounted feudal knights, but they go ahead and start fighting to the death, so they're totally useless now. And boom, they rout down to 10 guys with that. And I'm going to reform my cavalry with my general's bodyguard, and we're going to go ahead and focus on the rest of the infantry fight. I actually didn't think my armored sergeants would win that, but hey, they did, and they're doing quite well. And as you can see here, I had an interesting decision. I knew I could charge these guys from the side, cause quite a bit of damage, but at the same time I might take a lot of damage myself, and even at this stage I don't want to cause too much damage, so decide not to. This map is very odd. But anyways, going back on topic, I decided to go after his peasant archers, and they break instantly. And so I was going to do a hammer anvil right here, but these guys are already wavering, and they're going to break very shortly. And there they are, routing from the battlefield. So now all I have to worry about is this one little unit of catapult men. And here they have their poor catapult. They're not even defending their catapults anymore. But a little side note, if you ever have artillery pieces that may cause you problems later on, go ahead and attack with your men, and they will destroy artillery pieces like that quite well. But we're going to watch this charge, because I want to show how deadly mailed knights are on the charge. These guys are down to 10 men, but don't underestimate them. They are essentially medium cav. They don't have the best stats, but they are really good and really cheap. And just watch this. 7 guys. Now there's no guys.
All
That
of
entire unit
Christendom
is
will
gone.
be awed by the victory we have won here today.
And that is a victory for me. Let's go ahead and look at these stats. Once they pull up, there we go. Clear victory for me. I deployed 756 to my opponent. Raf, 51. His 781. And you can see the casualties he sustained. Almost 700 guys. So quite devastating. I got 504 kills. So you can see, you know, he killed a lot of his own men, and that was partially due to archer fire and catapults. Just keep that in mind. Artillery is not the best. Let's go ahead and look at the unit statistics and look at the casualties inflicted. 52 mailed knights, 89 with armored sergeants. You're probably never going to see that many. 92, I'm sorry. You're never going to see any more than that on any other type of battle except for these types. Low money, early period. But good game to my opponent. Essentially what he did wrong, well, first off, he had catapults and he used them, well, he used them, period. He probably should not have brought them, other than the fact, you know, they were against the rules, but I just closed the distance way too quickly. Also, he thought, seeing that one unit routed from my armored sergeants, that he could easily defeat my entire force with his, you know, feudal knights. However, you can see in the corner right here how well that worked out for him. Didn't work out as well as he was hoping, and that caused his both most expensive and biggest contingent of his army to completely rout off the battlefield. And that gave me the clear advantage right there. I also decided to charge the right targets. Look to see who you're about to attack. Don't, you know, charge horsemen into spearmen. That always ends bad. My opponent thought he could get away with it, but it does not. No matter how good your horses are, spearmen, no matter how cheap, we'll take them down. Also, be sure to maneuver. If my opponent had out-microed me a little bit more, he might have broken parts of my armored sergeants, and the battle could have been a little bit closer. And who knows who would have won. But thank you guys for watching so much. Please check out the hub some more. This hub is so amazing. I am so proud to have the guys here working with me on this. We have quite a bit of things to do. Quite a lot of news to come up with in just a little bit. So stay tuned for that. And of course, I will catch you guys in the next chapter.